Chapter 4.10 and also 11, Habituation and ESP. Have you ever noticed that when driving somewhere constantly, the trip seems to feel like it took a shorter amount of time than a trip of similar distance to somewhere new? Or when you listen to a song and you're able to clearly hear each word the singer is singing, each chord of the guitar, but by the 100th time you've heard it, it sounds like a blob of noise in the back of your mind. Well, the reason for this sensation is habituation. Habituation is when your brain recognizes certain stimuli and patterns and begins to react to them with less intensity than it would in a newer situation. That's why the car ride to school seems to be a blob of color and movement in your head when you're trying to remember it. Another example of habituation is when your perception becomes clouded. Perception can be thrown off during surprising, stressful, or even threatening situations. It's the reason why multiple witnesses to a crime could give two very different explanations to what happened. While habituation is your brain perceiving less of the world around you, the other side to it is dishabituation. Dishabituation is when your brain is fully aware of what is happening around you. While that may make dishabituation sound very monk-like or even supernatural, it really isn't. Everyone has experienced dishabituation before. Anytime you have actively paid full attention to something or someone, you have experienced dishabituation. As a side note, studies have shown that people who possess a higher sense of creativity experience a lower rate of habituation and respond to stimuli actively, even when it's repeated. Continuing on, has anyone ever seen a medium or a fortune teller? If you have, then you've met someone who claims to have ESP. ESP, or extrasensory perception, is described as the ability to perceive more than the average person through various supernatural-like phenomena. Before we go any further, we should mention that seeing through this is the real psychology topic. Psychologists are skeptical of the existence of ESP and its abilities, but more on that later. ESP can be categorized into 4 different types: telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, and psychokinesis. Telepathy is the ability to communicate with someone through mental abilities. Another type of telepathy is mediumship, which happens when mediums communicate with the dead. Clairvoyance is the ability to perceive events happening elsewhere in the world. Precognition is the ability to predict future events, and psychokinesis is the ability to manipulate physical objects with your mind or other non-physical methods. Going back to the validity of ESP, parapsychology is the study of ESP. Despite having its own branch in psychology, many psychologists are skeptical of ESP. The reason for this is ESP is hard to validate due to poorly constructed experiments and fraud.